Smoke rose in thick gray clouds from the shattered buildings of Varen Prime. The ground was littered with rubble, twisted metal, and the bodies of those who had fallen that day. The sky, once a bright blue, was now streaked with fire and ash. The war had come to this world, and humanity was fighting for survival against an enemy they barely understood. Among the chaos, Sergeant Alex Wren ran through the streets, clutching his plasma rifle. His boots crunched over broken glass and debris. Around him, human soldiers shouted orders, fired at unseen enemies, and tried desperately to hold the line. The aliens were everywhere, tall, armored, their eyes glowing with strange colors, and their weapons capable of cutting through human tanks as if they were paper. Alex's squad had been separated. The last thing he remembered was a massive explosion, a shockwave that threw him against the side of a ruined building. When he came to, the screams of battle were all around him. He had no idea where the others were, and the battle seemed to stretch endlessly in all directions. As he moved cautiously through the rubble, a sound stopped him in his tracks. A soft whimper, almost drowned out by gunfire, came from beneath a collapsed building. Alex crouched down and peered under a pile of debris. At first he could see nothing. Then slowly a small hand emerged, shaking. He pulled the rubble away and saw a child, an alien child. The sight stopped his heart. It was difficult to describe the species. Its skin was pale green, almost luminous, and its large eyes reflected fear and pain. Its small body was badly injured, trapped beneath metal beams and rubble. Alex froze. The child was clearly part of the enemy, the invaders who had killed millions of humans, destroyed cities, and left entire worlds in ruins. His orders were clear: no survivors. Yet, as he looked into the frightened eyes, something inside him shifted. He saw a small hand reaching out, trembling, and he could not bring himself to turn away. "Hang on," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the chaos. "I won't let them take you." He quickly assessed the situation. There were pieces of his medical kit scattered nearby. He tore open a package of bandages and gently wrapped the child's small wounds. The child winced but did not cry out. Alex used a small injector to give the child pain relief. He worked quickly, hands shaking, as enemy patrols moved closer. The decision was dangerous. If the aliens found him with their own child, there would be no mercy. Alex knew he could die for this. But the child's eyes held a simple truth that overrode fear: innocence. He lifted the child, careful not to worsen the injuries, and began to retreat. Every step was careful, measured. The battlefield was full of dangers: snipers on high towers, alien drones scanning for movement, and the constant roar of energy weapons. Alex moved through shadows, ducking behind ruined walls, dragging the child along. At one point, he had to cross a street where an alien patrol was moving. His heart pounded. He could see them talking, gesturing, unaware of his presence. Sweat ran down his face. Slowly, he pressed the child against the wall and picked up a small rock. With precise aim, he threw it in the opposite direction. The noise drew the patrol away. Alex exhaled silently. Hours seemed to pass. Alex moved through streets that were barely recognizable. Fires burned everywhere. The child was exhausted but alive, eyes half closed. Alex found a small shelter, a partially collapsed building with walls still standing. He settled inside, keeping the child close, checking the injuries again. As he rested for a moment, he thought about the war, about the orders, about the countless humans who had died. He thought about how easy it would be to leave the child to fate, but every fiber of his being refused. This small life mattered, not because of strategy, not because of loyalty, but because life itself was sacred. Night fell. The battlefield quieted, but not completely. The occasional flare of energy weapons lit the ruins. Alex made a small fire, careful to keep it hidden. He tore a strip of cloth to make a sling for the child, who was shivering. "You're going to be okay," he whispered. "I promise." Somewhere in the distance, explosions echoed. Entire buildings collapsed. The alien forces were relentless, but Alex stayed focused, keeping the child warm, feeding him small sips of water. For a moment, it felt like a fragile bubble of peace amidst the chaos. Suddenly, the ground shook with another explosion nearby. Alex grabbed the child and ran, using the shadows for cover. He had to find a safer place before patrols discovered them. The city was a maze of ruined streets and alleys. He had memorized only fragments, moving from one hiding spot to the next. Hours passed. Dawn broke, casting pale light over the ruins. Alex realized that staying in the city was too dangerous. He needed to leave the area entirely. He found an old transport tunnel abandoned, partially collapsed, but it led out of the city. Carrying the child, he moved slowly, listening for any sound of pursuit. Finally, he emerged on the outskirts of the city. He could see human forces regrouping in the distance, a small fortified position still holding against alien attacks. He wanted to take the child there, but he knew it was too risky. The child would be safer away from both human and alien armies, at least for now. Alex paused and looked down at the child. His eyes met the small green ones, filled with trust and fear. "You'll be safe," he said again. "I'll find a way." He found a small cave in the hills nearby, a place hidden from patrols and scouts. He placed the child inside, wrapped in blankets with enough water and food to last several days. He set up a small decoy nearby, broken equipment and scraps, to distract anyone who might follow. Before leaving, he activated the child's small tracking beacon, not to reveal the location, but to mislead anyone who might be searching. He knew the aliens had sophisticated sensors. This little trick might save the child. Alex took one last look. He wanted to stay to protect the child, but he knew he could not. The war would not wait, and he had his own duty. With a heavy heart, he disappeared into the hills, blending into the ruins. Far away across the galaxy, in a place of marble and towers, an alien queen felt a sudden surge of unease. Her child, her heir, was alive. Somehow, against all odds, the child had survived. And the queen knew immediately it was because of a human. For Alex Wren, the war would continue, battles would rage, and he would never know that a single act of compassion had changed the course of history. Yet for one alien child, one alien empire, the memory of a human's mercy would linger forever. And far away, the queen whispered into the emptiness of space, "Find him. I must know his name." The battlefield, the ruins, the chaos, it was only the beginning. The child was alive and the human had vanished. But the universe, vast as it was, had a way of remembering. On the alien homeworld of Lathara, the capital gleamed like a crown under twin suns. Towers of crystal and metal pierced the sky, and energy highways carried ships faster than the eye could follow. The world was alive, ordered, and beautiful, yet beneath its perfection, a storm had begun. The queen sat upon her throne, a figure both majestic and terrifying. Her eyes glowed with an inner light, reflecting the countless stars she had conquered, and yet today they were shadowed with worry. In her hands she held a holographic display showing the war zones. On it one icon blinked, her child, marked as missing during the final battle on Varen Prime. Her advisors hovered nearby, their armor gleaming and their faces tense. They had been trained for obedience, for the endless logic of war, but even they could sense the tension in the queen's presence. "My child is alive," she said, her voice both calm and commanding, "and a human saved them." The room went silent. A senior military officer spoke cautiously. "Your Majesty, humans are weak. They do not understand honor. How could one of them?" "Stop," the queen snapped. "Do not question what I feel. I sense it. The human spared my child, against all reason, against all law. This is not weakness. This is something else, something dangerous." Another advisor, younger, dared to speak. "Majesty, if we know who this human is, we could eliminate him, ensure that no other human interferes." The queen's eyes narrowed. "No. I will not harm the one who spared life. Instead, I must know him. I must understand him, find this human, learn his name, bring him to me." The officers exchanged uncertain glances. Humans were considered inferior, unpredictable, and chaotic. To some, this mercy could be a trap. To others, it was unthinkable. Yet the Queen's command was absolute. Orders were sent across the empire. Every ship, every scout, every intelligence network scoured the battlefield worlds. They traced the faint trail left behind by Alex Wren, unaware that the human soldier had vanished into the hills, his presence a ghost on sensors and scans. Meanwhile, Alex returned to his unit. They were battered, weary, but still fighting. Soldiers exchanged stories of survival, of battles lost and won, but Alex said nothing of the child. He did not even tell his comrades that he had acted against orders. There were some things he could not explain, and some he would never admit, not yet. The war raged on. Human forces adapted, fighting with desperation and ingenuity against an enemy whose technology seemed unstoppable. Yet in the quiet moments between battles, Alex could not stop thinking about the child. How was the small alien now? Was it safe? Did anyone know? On Lathara, the Queen's investigation deepened. Intelligence teams studied battlefield recordings, intercepted communications, and analyzed every human strategy in the last campaign. Patterns emerged, unusual behavior, a small anomaly where an alien unit had been left alive. Finally, after weeks of relentless searching, they found him, not through weapons or war, but through compassion. A scout, observing remnants of the battlefield, saw a human soldier moving cautiously, carrying supplies. The patterns of survival, the hidden shelters, the careful avoidance of combat, all pointed to a single truth: the child had been saved. The Queen called a council. Holographic displays showed the scouts' reports. A single human, a soldier acting alone. "He exists," the Queen said softly. "Find him, not to harm him, not to punish, only to know him." The military officers bristled. "Your Majesty, this is unprecedented. Why does mercy demand attention?" "Because mercy is rare," she said. "Mercy is dangerous. It changes everything." Across the galaxy, the human soldier continued his missions. He fought for survival for his comrades, but he felt a subtle shift in the air. Enemy units moved differently, as if searching for someone. Patrols appeared in unexpected places, always avoiding, always observing. He could not understand why, but something told him that his act of compassion had consequences far beyond the battlefield. The alien empire, meanwhile, prepared for an unprecedented move. Ships were assembled, fleets that had once been poised for destruction now diverted to the single task of locating a human. Entire divisions paused, reconsidering the war, as the Queen's command rippled through the ranks. Inside the capital, the Queen studied the child. The young alien, though safe, remained fragile. He was the heir, the future of the empire, and yet he had survived only because a human had shown him mercy. The Queen's advisors debated endlessly. Some demanded retaliation, others argued that humans must be crushed to prevent further unpredictability. But the Queen was firm. "I do not seek revenge. I seek understanding. Bring me the human. Let me see the face of one who chose compassion over duty, who chose life over destruction." Orders were sent. Ships launched. Scouts flew through war-torn worlds. Records were examined. Every scrap of information about human soldiers was gathered. And all the while, the Queen's eyes remained fixed on one question: who is he? Back on Varen Prime, Alex moved through the ruins again. This time, he was not alone. Human reinforcements had arrived, bringing hope and weapons, but also new battles. As he fought, he sensed something strange. Enemy units behaved differently. They seemed cautious, almost reverent in some ways, yet aggressive in others. It was as if something had changed in the very fabric of the war. One night after a long battle, Alex rested under a ruined wall. He thought of the child, of the small hands and fearful eyes. He wondered if the child had survived the night. Somewhere, he knew, someone powerful knew. He did not know who or why, but the feeling of being watched was undeniable. On Lathara, the queen paced her chamber. She could feel the threads of fate pulling her toward a human. It was not logic, not military strategy that guided her, but something far older, the recognition that life itself is sacred. That even in war, even in destruction, mercy is a force no weapon can conquer. Her advisors argued late into the night. Majesty, the human, is dangerous. He defied our law, he acted against orders. Yes, she said, and that is why I must meet him. That is why the human must be known, for what he did is impossible to ignore. The queen issued new commands. A specialized team of scouts, trained in observation, stealth, and diplomacy, would locate the human soldier. They would not engage, not attack, not provoke. Their mission was simple: find the human, ensure he is alive, and report directly to the queen. Weeks passed. The scouts traced his movements, slowly closing the distance. They observed him in battle, saw his courage, his skill, and most of all, his compassion for those around him. Each observation confirmed what the queen had sensed from across the galaxy. This human was extraordinary. Finally, the scouts had enough information. They reported back to the queen. He is brave, he is clever, and he has saved life where death was expected. He is alone, yet he carries others with him in spirit. The queen considered the words. Yes, she said softly, it is him. He is the human I seek. Across the stars, in a small, war-torn corner of the galaxy, a human soldier moved with purpose, unaware of the powerful eyes upon him. He fought, he survived, he saved, and yet he had no idea that his actions were shaping the future of a galaxy. And in her chamber the queen whispered once more, "Bring him to me, I must know his name. I must understand the one who chose life when death was commanded." The war continued. Humans fought fiercely. Aliens defended their territory. Battles erupted across worlds. But in the midst of chaos, a single thread of hope ran through the galaxy. A thread tied to compassion, courage, and the mercy of a human soldier who had risked everything for a child. For the queen, for the empire, for the war itself, everything was about to change. And the human, still unaware, walked the path that would lead him to destiny. The stars above the battlefield burned cold and distant, indifferent to the chaos below. Human forces clashed with the alien army in a vast desert of metal and sand, a place where strategy was tested and lives were measured in seconds. Yet amidst the storm of fire and destruction, one human moved differently. Sergeant Alex Wren fought as he always did, skillfully, decisively, but cautiously. His eyes scanned the battlefield not just for enemies but for those who could not defend themselves. Even now, amid the violence, he remembered the child he had saved. Every action he took carried the weight of that mercy, though he never knew if it had made a difference. Above the horizon, alien ships hovered silently. They did not attack, and their presence was unsettling. The human soldiers looked up, confusion and fear crossing their faces. The alien fleet was enormous, but there was something strange: no signals, no weapons firing, only a deliberate formation. Alex froze, instinct screaming at him that something extraordinary was happening. He lowered his rifle slightly, curiosity warring with caution. From the central ship, a single craft separated and descended slowly, its engines silent against the wind. The ground shook when it landed. A ramp extended, and from it stepped figures that none of the human soldiers expected. They were not attacking. They were not charging. They moved with grace, their posture commanding respect, and at their head was the queen herself. The desert fell silent. No gunfire, no shouting, nothing except the faint hiss of energy vents and the crunch of boots on sand. Every human soldier froze, realizing that what they were witnessing was unprecedented. The queen's presence was overwhelming. Her armor glimmered under the twin suns. her eyes glowing with the same light that marked her as a ruler of empires. She walked with purpose, her gaze fixed on the battlefield, moving as if time itself slowed for her steps. When she stopped, she spoke, not in a voice of command or war, but in one that carried authority and a strange warmth. Her words echoed across the battlefield. "Human," she said, "I have come for the one who spared life." Alex's heart raced. He had seen alien leaders before, but none had come for him personally. He raised his rifle instinctively, but the Queen made no threatening gesture. Her gaze held none of the malice he had learned to expect from this species. I don't understand," Alex said cautiously, keeping his weapon ready. "Why are you here?" The Queen's eyes softened slightly, but her presence remained commanding. "Because of what you did. In the ruins of Varen Prime, you saved my child. You risked everything for mercy. No human has ever done this. I must know you. I must understand why." Around them, the battlefield seemed suspended in time. Human soldiers lowered their weapons slowly, some still wary, others in awe. Alien troops held position, energy weapons ready but unmoving. The war had paused, not by orders but by the sheer weight of a single act: compassion. Alex's mind raced. He thought of the child, of the danger he had faced, of the choices he had made. And he realized something that surprised him. He did not feel pride. He did not expect recognition. He had acted because it was the right thing to do. I didn't do it for honor," Alex said slowly. "I didn't do it for reward. I just couldn't leave a child to die, that's all." The Queen listened, silent, her expression unreadable. Then slowly she knelt. The motion shocked everyone, human and alien alike. In a galaxy where warriors were trained to fight, to conquer, and to dominate, the leader of the Empire knelt before a human soldier. "It is rare to see such courage," she said softly, so that only Alex could hear. "Not from the strong, but from the one who values life." Alex lowered his weapon further. I don't know what to say." "You need not say anything," the Queen replied. "Your actions speak louder than any words. The mercy you showed has changed more than you know. Entire worlds, armies, the course of this war, they all shift because of you." Some officers whispered among themselves. Humans were supposed to be chaotic, unpredictable, weak. And yet here was proof that one human's choice could stop armies, command fleets, and bend the will of an empire. The Queen raised her head and spoke to both sides. "Let it be known," she said, her voice carrying across the battlefield, "that this human chose compassion when death was demanded. Let all remember that life can be honored above victory. Let all remember that even in war, mercy is stronger than fear." The human soldiers stared in disbelief. Some felt shame for their past actions, others felt hope. For the first time, they realized that humans were not only capable of fighting, but of shaping the destiny of the galaxy through courage and conscience. Alex looked at the Queen, finally seeing the child's reflection in her eyes. In that moment, he understood. The child was safe, and that safety had caused something extraordinary: a pause in war, a moment of reckoning, and a recognition that humanity was more than just fighters. The Queen turned back to her fleet. "We will not fire, not today, not against those who fought with honor." She addressed her soldiers and officers. "The war continues, but the rules have changed. We will respect life when we see it valued. We will honor courage wherever it appears." Alex realized that his life and the lives of his comrades had changed forever. The war was no longer just about survival or territory. It was about understanding, about the strength that comes from compassion, and about the choices that define a species. For the aliens, this was unprecedented. Their society was built on power, strength, and conquest. To witness mercy from an enemy, and to see it shape the very course of strategy, was unimaginable. The Queen herself had acknowledged it. Humans were not simply weak or chaotic. They were dangerous in a way no weapon could measure. The human soldier felt a strange sense of calm. He had fought, survived, and saved a life. Yet now he understood that the universe had noticed. One act, small and simple in his mind, had ripple effects across planets and fleets. The Queen spoke again, her voice carrying authority and reverence. "Human, your name is required. The universe must remember the one who chose mercy." Alex hesitated. Names were powerful, yes, but he had never sought fame. He had acted as any person with a conscience might act, and yet he understood the weight of this moment. This was not about ego. This was about a legacy, a recognition that compassion could exist even in the darkest corners of war. "I am Alex Wren," he said finally, his voice steady, though he felt the enormity of it. The Queen smiled slightly, a rare gesture, and nodded. "So it is recorded. Alex Wren, the one who chose life over death, mercy over command, compassion over fear." Her officers and soldiers looked on, stunned. Humans had been underestimated for centuries, considered reckless and weak. And yet here was proof that a single human had the power to shape an empire. The Queen's decision would be remembered for generations, a turning point in history. The battlefield slowly returned to motion. Orders were given to resume strategy, but the tension had shifted. Human soldiers fought with renewed courage, inspired by the knowledge that mercy could command even the most powerful forces. Alien forces moved with caution, aware that strength alone did not define a warrior. Alex stood quietly, absorbing it all. The Queen's gaze remained on him, and he knew that this was only the beginning. The war was far from over, but the rules had changed. Humanity's potential had been revealed, not through weapons, not through conquest, but through the simple, profound act of saving a child. And in that moment, across the stars, the universe seemed to hold its breath. One human, one choice, one act of mercy, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Queen finally turned away, signaling her fleet to withdraw. Her soldiers followed, but the message was clear. Mercy had power. Courage without hatred had meaning. And humanity, a species once underestimated, had proven that strength is measured not only by weapons, but by the heart. As she departed, she whispered once more, "Remember the name Alex Wren, the one who chose life." Alex watched the fleet disappear into the distance. He did not feel pride. He felt hope, for himself, for humanity, and for the child he had saved. One small act had changed countless lives. One choice had shifted the course of war. And for the first time, he realized that being human was about more than survival. It was about the courage to choose what is right, even when it is hardest. The desert fell silent once more, but the echoes of that moment would ripple through history. And somewhere, far away, the Queen's child slept safely, alive because of a human who chose mercy. The galaxy was quieter than it had been in decades. Battles had paused, fleets had withdrawn, and planets that had once been ablaze with war now held their breath. Humanity and the alien empire stared at each other across the void, unsure of what the future might bring. On Lathara, the capital planet, the Queen stood in her private chamber, overlooking the city of towers and lights. She was not in war mode, not commanding armies or plotting strategies. She was thinking about one thing, the human who had spared her child. The one whose choice had altered the course of history. A soft chime echoed through the chamber. A holographic display appeared, showing live feeds from across the galaxy. Scouts had located Alex Wren once again. He was alive, still fighting not out of conquest but for survival and duty. The Queen studied him carefully. The human did not seek fame. He did not boast. He moved through war-torn lands quietly yet with purpose. "Bring him here," she commanded, her voice calm but absolute. "I must meet the one who changed everything." Her advisors, some still skeptical, prepared for the journey. They assembled a ship, one designed for speed and discretion. It would reach Alex without causing alarm, without revealing her full presence. The human would come willingly, if only out of curiosity or perhaps a sense of duty. Meanwhile, Alex had returned to a small human base on a desert planet. The soldiers were exhausted, patched up, and ready to regroup. Yet Alex could not rest. His thoughts wandered to the child he had saved. Was the child truly safe? Did the aliens know? Was there a reason he felt watched, followed, yet unthreatened? The Queen's arrival would answer all of these questions. He did not know it yet, but his life was about to change forever. The transport landed quietly. Humans at the base were surprised but cautious. The ship's appearance was unlike any human vessel. Its curves were elegant, its lights soft, and it emitted no weaponized energy. Out stepped the Queen herself, accompanied by a few advisors but alone in intent. Alex approached cautiously, rifle lowered but ready. He had fought countless aliens before, but none like this. None who carried the weight of an empire in their presence. "Human," the Queen began, her voice calm yet commanding. "I have come to meet the one who spared life when death was demanded." Alex studied her. He saw no hostility, no deception, only curiosity and something far deeper, respect. I don't understand," he said slowly. "Why are you here?" "Because of what you did," she replied. "Because of the choice you made. You risked everything for a child. You chose compassion over command. You chose life over victory. For this, I must know your name." Alex paused. Names had power, yes, but he had never sought recognition. He had acted because it was right, nothing more. And yet the moment was profound. I'm Alex Wren," he said quietly. The Queen's eyes softened. She repeated his name slowly, letting it echo through the chamber. "Alex Wren," she said, "the one who chose mercy, the one who chose life. This name will be remembered." Alex felt the weight of her words, but he did not feel pride. He felt something more subtle, hope. A hope that his actions, small as they seemed at the time, could inspire others. The Queen gestured to a holographic display. "I want you to see something," she said. The display showed battlefields across the galaxy, war-torn planets. Armies paused in their tracks, alien soldiers lowering weapons when they saw human units acting with honor. "Your choice," she continued, "has shifted the understanding of life, compassion, and courage. Not just for humans, but for all who witness it. Your act of mercy has become a symbol." Alex studied the display, realizing the magnitude of what had happened. The child he saved had grown to be a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in war, one life mattered. The Queen had not come to conquer or punish. She had come to honor a choice that demonstrated what humans were capable of beyond violence. The Queen stepped closer. "I know your war continues," she said. "I know your battles are not over. But humanity has proven that strength is measured not by weapons alone, but by the heart that wields them. You have changed my view of your species, and through you, the galaxy will change as well." Alex nodded slowly. He did not speak immediately. Words seemed too small for what he felt. The Queen, sensing his hesitation, smiled faintly. "Do you understand?" she asked. "Because of you, humans are no longer seen as merely reckless or weak. Your courage and compassion have earned respect, perhaps even fear, but the kind that inspires, not destroys." Alex began, but stopped. He realized that what he had done was not extraordinary to him. It was simply human. "I just did what anyone would do," he said finally. The Queen shook her head. "No," she said firmly. "Not anyone. Most would have followed orders. Most would have left the child. You chose differently. That is why you are remembered." For the first time, Alex understood something profound. Humanity's power was not just in technology, strategy, or weapons. It was in the choices that humans made, the ability to value life, to act with conscience, to defy expectation for the sake of morality. That choice had consequences far beyond any battlefield. Outside, fleets of alien ships began to reposition, halting attacks, pausing campaigns, and reconsidering strategies. Across war-torn planets, soldiers on both sides hesitated, sensing a shift in the rules of war. Humans fought not out of hatred but out of courage and care. Aliens understood now that mercy was a force stronger than any weapon. The Queen looked at Alex once more. The galaxy must know your name, not for glory, not for fame, but so that others remember that life is sacred, even in times of war. Your actions are a guide, a light in the darkness. Alex felt a weight lift from him. For so long he had carried the burden of survival, of war, of choices made in moments of fear. Now, for the first time, he saw the meaning behind those choices. One act of compassion could echo across stars, across worlds, and across generations. The Queen extended her hand. "Alex Wren, will you accept the recognition of your species and mine?" Alex hesitated, then nodded. He understood that this was not about him personally, but about humanity as a whole. It was about the power of mercy, the strength in compassion, and the courage to choose life even when death was expected. Across the galaxy, the message spread. Humans were no longer simply warriors. They were beings capable of shaping history with conscience and heart. The war did not end that day, but its nature changed. The rules of engagement shifted. Battles were fought with honor, decisions carried conscience, and every soldier knew that even in the darkest moment, life could be valued above victory. On Lathara, the Queen made a declaration. "Let it be known that a human has shown mercy to the heir of this empire." Let all remember the name Alex Wren. Let all learn that compassion can command the respect of the strongest, and that life is more powerful than destruction. The court erupted in awe and respect. Alien soldiers who had once scorned humans now saw a species capable of influencing the fate of empires. The galaxy began to change, one mind at a time. Alex stood quietly, watching the sun rise over Lathara. The twin suns reflected on the towers, painting the city gold and crimson. The war was not over, but hope had arrived. Not through weapons or conquest, but through choice, through the courage to act with mercy. Far away, the child he had saved slept peacefully, unaware of the ripple caused by a human's act. But the galaxy remembered. The human's name, simple yet powerful, would echo through history. Alex Wren, the one who chose mercy. And as he looked to the horizon, Alex knew that humanity had proven something extraordinary. That even in a universe ruled by power, compassion could be the most dangerous, most influential force of all. The war continued, yes, but the heart of humanity had been revealed. And in that revelation, the galaxy found hope.